Okay, so about a week ago, I bought this lens right here. I really needed a 70 to 200, but I didn't have the money for the professional Canon EF lenses. So I had to deal with a Tamron. Now, they're not bad, but they're not good. And I'm gonna give you some details, like sort of a review of this lens. Mind you, I just got this today. So these are my first impressions on the 70 to 200, 2.8 with no image stabilization. Let's go. So let's talk about the lens. What's wrong with the lens? Well, I was really excited when I first picked it up, and I really noticed that it's surprisingly heavy. It's got a lot of weight to it. Holding it on a DSLR, it's a pretty hefty setup. And what really scared me about this lens is you see that little red notch right there? Here. See that little red notch? That's usually for an RF mount, but for some reason this is an EF mount. I'm used to the red dots, not the red sliver, because that's usually an RF. So that scared me right off the bat, but that's not the main issue. I mean, it's not that it's a bad lens, but I mean, it sure has its caveats. So anyway, this is an EF mount, and this mounts directly on to the DSLR. Look at that hefty little thing. Don't even get me started on the lens hood. Oh, oh, I hate lens hoods. Line the whites and then lock it into place. So this is the whole lens. And together, I mean, it's really heavy, but on my setup that I'm recording on, it has the grip, so that adds a whole ton of weight. But that's not an issue. But if you have really weak arms and or can't really like hold heavy objects for a long time, try to find a cheaper, less weighty. Try like an f4, that would work. Although you are losing light. Whatever. Anyway, so the lens. Let's talk about the lens. This, it's clunky. Let's talk about the autofocus real quick. So the autofocus, it's, let me just show you. Okay, so the switch to turn on AF and MF, the autofocus and manual focus, you see this little focus ring right here? You gotta pull that down. And then it'll show blue up top. And that's how you know it's in manual focus. I know it's really tough and it feels like you're gonna break it, but no, trust me, that's just how it is. If you want autofocus, you gotta bring it up. If you play with it too much, it looks like you're just jacking it off. Enough about that. Now, the autofocus, it's loud. Let me tell you, it is heckin' loud. Listen to this. Damn! This thing is loud. Let me tell you that. It looks like you're drilling a nail. No, it looks like you're drilling a screw into a wall. I don't like that. I mean, if you're recording and you're using the camera's microphone, it's going to pick up that I hate it. So I usually use manual focus. Although sometimes whenever you move it, when it's in autofocus, whenever you move it and you try to bring it down, sometimes it's not going to allow you to. So you got to spin it until it goes down. Why? I don't know. It just catches until it finds the right spot. Not really an issue, but it's definitely going to slow you down. Okay, now let's move on to zooming. Now the zooming mechanism is pretty neat. This thing is internal zoom, which surprised me because I didn't know it did that until I picked it up. 70, 200. That's pretty neat. I like that. I like that a lot. And one thing about the zoom ring is it is so heckin' smooth. It's so loose and smooth. Nice thing about this is there is no lens creep. It's not gonna happen. No lens creep. That's a great thing. Now, there isn't really any issues, although the grip for both of the rings, to me, they're a bit rough. I don't like them. It's, since it's almost new, it's kind of jagged, so it's kind of hurting my fingers. But it's not the biggest deal breaker. But this thing, if you do have the mount thingy, the ring mount for this lens, you can hook it up to a tripod or a monopod, and you can use it like that. That would be pretty useful since this is a chonkin lens. And there's a good reason why you would need that. The reason why you need like a monopod or a tripod is because this thing has absolutely no image stabilization. I know, it's sad, but if you're using it for sports, it's a good thing that it isn't with IBS. Wait, no. No. Image stabilization, IS. It's kind of a good thing that it doesn't have that because when you're out shooting sports, you're not really going to need the image stabilization. Because if you have the image stabilization turned on, it's going to introduce lag whenever you're trying to track a player. It's best to have it off, that way it's much easier to actually, you know, focus on the player and get the perfect shot. So it's kind of iffy depending on the person who needs the 70 to 200, because some people are filmmakers, some people aren't. I'm sort of in between, but I would never use a 70 to 200 for a video. All I need is a 24 to 105, and that's perfectly fine. Now, my first impressions on this lens are surprisingly decent, because for the price, which I hate to say it, I did spend a lot of money on this lens. Even for a good conditioned one, I still paid a hefty price of $498. $498 for whatever this is. But I have done a little bit of research on the lens, which is what led me to get it. So, and also, multiple things I've noticed when shooting with this lens to actually test it out is it has a really slow autofocus. It has the slowest autofocus that I've ever seen. Listen to this. It's not quick at all. No, not one bit. Oh, wait, no. So, autofocus is really slow, so you won't be able to really track any moving subjects, but that's why it's kind of best to keep it on manual focus, or if you really don't care about the noise or how slow it is, you can keep it on autofocus. Me personally, I'm used to shooting cine lenses at sporting events. In fact, I've shot my best photo on a Rokinon 85mm T1.5, which you've seen in my earlier videos. I've shot my best shots with the cine lens. So I'm pretty used to using manual focus. Other people, they're different. So anyway, when I was out shooting with this lens in particular, I noticed that it's relatively sharp. When I went back and checked on the photos, they have pretty decent quality. It's actually really not that bad. Maybe a little soft, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You can just bump up the clarity, bring up some of the textures, and you're good to go. Some people, that could be a deal breaker because they don't like soft lenses. They want razor sharp, but that's not what this lens is. It's good for consumers, prosumers. I'm kind of a prosumer, but I'm trying to be professional. Anyway, another thing about this lens is the vignetting. It does have a little bit of vignetting, especially at 200. You will notice that at 200. But when you move up to like 70, no, move down to 70, it's still kind of prevalent, but if you really don't care about vignetting, you don't have to like look at it. But if you don't want vignetting, you can kind of fix it in post, but there's not going to be any uh, EXIF data or metadata, whatever. Your camera is not going to detect it because it's not a proprietary lens. So it's not going to be on their editing, post-processing kind of stuff. You're not going to be able to fix it in post. Another great thing about this lens is that it's a macro lens, meaning that if you look at the little ring here, you scroll all the way down, you'll see that it has 3.11 feet, or in meters, that's 0.95. Most lenses can only go to 1:1. Now, if you're an aspiring photographer or videographer and you want to learn more about photography or how I edit my photos, come check out my channel. I will teach you everything you need to know. Happy shooting!